go through it. But yeah, that's funny. All right, guys. So 7 o'clock here on the East Coast, and tonight we'll do the first 10 pages. And like I was saying, it's pretty packed with a lot of information. And the subject is analysis and assessment of the gateway process. And what is the gateway program, which was invented by the Monroe Institute. The document was dated June of 1983, which will begin, and then released by the CIA in 2003. So it's been out there for a while. So I'll go around, do a little round of introductions. If you want, you can tell us your name, where you're from, and if you like to talk about anything out of body, bring up something to share with the group. So I'm Juice out of New York. And gosh, it's funny. I'm doing all this stuff here on the books and everything, all these reviews, and I don't know. It's like, and I'm practicing the Gateway program, as I've been talking about in the past for months now, and I haven't had much experiences. I don't know if doing all this stuff is just grounding me too much here in my physical body, but I'm not having many experiences at all doing all this. I thought it would actually enhance it, but it's the opposite. I'm having less experiences than I thought, but it's fun to educate myself and to do this with you guys and just keep learning about the subject. So I don't care. It's all fun. But experiences, pretty much nothing. Just good dream recall. That's about it. And I've been practicing in the mornings and at nights, but I got to add on to it even more. But doing this stuff too, it does ground me here because I want to make sure everything kind of runs right and stuff. So it's in my head, and I'm sure that's grounding me here instead of easily leaving my body and exploring. So, all right, Glenn, what's new with you?
Not much. Yeah, I took a couple of sessions off, and I've been focusing in on EFT. I had mentioned I've been using EFT and want to get certified in that. And I've been using that to overcome my fears for OBE, by the vibrational state and all that type of stuff. And as I was telling Juice just before the meeting started, I just found a new walk band that is of high quality. So I have the complete Gateway series, and I've always just been focusing in on the first 6 tapes of the Discovery, and now I'm going through one per morning. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go ahead and do each one of the gateways. So I'm hoping that between that, and I'm really into wellness, mindfulness now, as well as it's breathing techniques as well, and it's all coming together, and combining all 4 of those modalities, I think, is really going to help me doing this. And it's interesting because when I was in the military back in the 80s, when this first came out, this was a topic of conversation for a couple of my friends way back when. So it's interesting to see this finally being released. So that's about it. Hello, everybody.
So, Glenn, have you noticed that with the Gateway series that I've had the old ones too? I had somebody in Austin many years ago. He gave me his copies of the cassettes because he didn't care about them, and I was, he saw my passion for it, so he gave me all his tapes and stuff. And I noticed there's a little difference between those tapes and the ones that are released today. They made some changes to it.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
I lost I wore out the first set of tapes for that, the first 6 tapes. So I bought another one, and it changed even then, because when these first came out, they sent you a course along with it, and newsletters and that came out, and all of the documents that explain it as well. And they've changed their terminology a little bit. And I think you mentioned that when we were going through the books as well. So yeah, I have the original one way back when. And I had mentioned before, I'd lost my hearing in my left ear, right after I purchased them. So I was always wondering about the Hemisync and that. So this new cassette player, I have the ability to really turn up the volume on the left ear where I'm deaf, and it almost seems like I have full hearing now. So I'm really interested to see what this is going to do. So
Yeah, that's interesting to see. I'm sure that probably the Institute would be interested in to know that too, how
yeah,
that affects. I haven't heard
so,
anybody else talk about that. Somebody deaf in one ear and then how that affects the whole process.
yeah. I'm really interested to see what their new technology. What is the acronym? Was what, SAM or something now?
Sam, spatial angle modulation.
Yeah. See
Yeah.
how that works too. So, but anyway, I'll
Yeah,
go
I
mute for a while.
I got a Sam tape I got many years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm just letting somebody in here. It's one of my favorites. One of the Sam ones I got in the past. If you remind me too on that, Glenn, I'll send you a copy of that. My favorite one.
Oh, okay.
Just remind
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Hi, Susan.
Yeah. When were these papers? I didn't notice. When were these papers released by the CIA?
2003.
Was it through the Freedom of Information Act, or did they just out of the goodness of their hearts release them?
I'm thinking they were just released, but they're not really went mainstream until in the last few years. So
Yeah.
people just kind of got lost in all the other things that were released.
Yeah, I didn't know if they just voluntarily released them, because I've signed the Freedom of Information Act on multiple occasions to get things released, other subjects. But I didn't, until this, I didn't know that there was something that needed to be released. So I'm glad they got it anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's I'm sure that probably helped to get released what you did signing that. Anything else you'd like to share, Susan?
I think there was, but I'll think of it when I think of it.
Okay.
I'll remember.
Thanks. Lori, would you like to do an introduction?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
So as far as my brief history, I've read all the Monroe books, but I did not take the official classes. But, I've always been interested in these things. I mean, as far as what's going on personally, I don't have a lot of time lately for the metaphysical, but someone is trying to contact me because I am getting knocks, either on my headboard, the wall, the door. So I have to just open up and find out what these messages are. But, for sure, some entity, I think a positive one, is trying to get in touch with me. So I think it is time to dig deeper into the metaphysical. And as far as this document, what I'm most interested in is if we get to theorize about what is going on now, from the CIA, because, they release things when they've gone so far ahead that they don't mind releasing certain things. And I don't know if anyone in this group has listened to, say, Austin Steinbart,
No.
because he has some videos and he swears that these agencies, I think he's in DIS, I think, that they have quantum computers now that allow them to communicate with alien races, different time period deceased ghosts, and everything from other planets and everything. And it really does seem like, Monroe knew how to use some technology and the Hemisync and whatnot to assist in that connection. But the implication is that the government agencies have much more advanced technology to do this, that they're, 20 or 30 years ahead. So it's fascinating. And I hope to just learn more from everybody.
Thanks for coming, Lori. Yeah, good point you brought up there. Yeah, if they release that, what are they up to? Like when they're showing us the stealth bomber, like it's nothing, what's the next aircraft that they have hidden that they're working on. So yeah, it's a good topic. All right. Hi, Marty.
Hello. but nothing new with me. So sorry to report.
That's okay. I'm right with you, Marty.
Aw,
But we're having fun doing this and learning, right?
yes.
Yeah, we're picking up and we're having a good time doing this. So that's good. Susan?
Y'all we're talking about I heard y'all talking about having a little bit of trouble getting out of body or reaching the vibrational state and stuff right now. But for the last week, we've had some deep space energy and things come in. We've had some solar flares. I know solar. I don't know if it affects y'all. If y'all have ever noticed it, but it affects me a little bit when there's big solar flares or is so low that deep space energy is coming in. And what I heard today was that a few days ago, about 5 days ago, there was a big solar tornado on the sun that was, I don't remember how many times bigger than Earth it is, but anyway, it broke away and it came this way. And today's the day that all of that energy hit the planet, and I think that that's disruptive to the process sometimes, because this is real strong energetic stuff. And it may be seem very subtle when it gets here, but I think that it can affect practices like this sometimes. It does me.
That's good to know, Susan. Yeah, it makes me feel better. Like I'm just like, what the heck's going on? I'm actually getting a little aggravated about it, but it is what it is. I just go through the emotions. Cool. Colton, would you like to do an introduction? You can if you want.
Hi there, everyone. My name's Colton. I live out in Eagle Mountain, Utah. There's really not much going on. It's pretty arid and rural. As far as out-of-body experiences, I don't have any myself. I'm more so here because I'm intrigued by other people's stories, and I'm an avid learner about just conspiracy and also just the manifestation of these ideas on how we can project our spirit out of body or energy out of body, and also just how our government, I feel, in my own opinion, is aligned with some of these abilities and has not provided us any information on it. So I'm more so here just with an open head, not a lot inside my head, but just here to for what you guys may have to say.
Cool. Yeah, came to the right place, Colton. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we got all different levels here, all different types interested in this. People who have experiences, people who haven't, people who want to, people who don't want to but want to learn. So great that you came. So I'm just gonna pull up some notes here that I made, and we'll all go through and if you made some notes on the release documents, I'll go through a little bit of the beginning part here again, just to talk about what we're doing tonight. We're talking about the first 10 pages tonight, which would actually lead us to page 8 in the documents, because the first 2 pages are kind of like just an introduction to the commander of the army, whoever's receiving this document. And this is a document from Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. Mcdonnell. He's the one that was investigating the Gateway program. The document was dated, done the investigation in 1983 of June, and it was released by the CIA in 2003. And in the last couple of years, I noticed a lot of people are really digging into this now and talking about it, and even a big jump in it in the last few months here. A lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of us have gone through the first 3 books, which we did before this, and that was Robert Monroe's books, Journeys Out of the Body, Far Journeys, and Ultimate Journeys. So we went through that. So for us that did that, we can also compare how these documents relate to what we read about. So we can discuss that, how it relates. Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. Mcdonnell was from the Army, is doing the research, And he's also with a physician, which also took the Gateway program training together. He mentions that. I don't think he gave a name, though. I didn't catch a name on that. I don't know. Did anybody catch a name on the physician that was doing it with him? So I'm just going to read some stuff here. As we know, the Gateway program was a program that was invented by the Monroe Institute in Virginia. It's an institute that's been there for many years, started by Robert Monroe and his wife, and is still there today. And there's lots of programs you can do. And one of them, which is still running, is the Gateway program. So in the beginning here of the documents, Mcdonnell mentions that the process, it works. So he mentions right away that it's working, whatever they're doing there with the Gateway program, it works. I'm not sure how he got that information, but he does mention that. So, and he also omits in the beginning here of the documents that the Gateway program proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business to understand. Because of the occult connotations, Mcdonnell tries to use physics and physical science terminology to describe the out-of-body states so it is suitable for his objective assignment. So he's trying to translate it over. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then he gets into how the biomedical factors are affected by basically hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation. And then Mcdonnell mentions that this part of his research on this will take some right brain intuitive insight to be comfortable with the concepts involved. So he's telling his commander this, that basically he's got to get out of his left brain and get into his right brain to understand what he's talking about here. Not to use your left brain linear thinking because it might not work. And then he gets into how the Gateway program impacts common belief systems. And you remember in the books, Monroe talks a lot about the belief systems. And he gets into a lot in the third book about left and right hemisphere and how it interacts with each other. And then here he first mentions the Gateway experience, the brain hemisphere synchronization in perspective. So he's now he's talking about the hemisync for short. That's the first mention of it. And the first thing he gets into is the hypnosis and how this affects the left and right parts of the brain. Because the left hemisphere acts like a gatekeeper before information gets sent into the right side, hypnosis allows the left side to get bored and let the hypnotic suggestions pass unchallenged to the right hemisphere and acted upon directly. So would anybody like to talk about hypnosis and how they think hypnosis might work? Any hypnotists out there? Marty?
I'm not a hypnotist, but an interesting little piece of trivia side note. Susan Blackmore, who is now an OBE denier, used to be an everything, said she was medium, said everything, and said she did it all. Now decides there is no such thing. But she claims that people who are good somnambulism subjects, you're all familiar with the term somnambulism. It's that's the real deep state of hypnosis. And a lot of people have trouble getting to there, like me. I'm a difficult subject. I've tried to be hypnotized, and I have that control issue that I don't want to give up control. But anyway, she claims that people who claim that they do out of body are just very suggestible people who are very easily hypnotized and have convinced themselves that they're doing this, which I'm certainly the proof that is not true.
Right.
Because I would love to be a good hypnotic subject. I think it's wonderful, but I fight it. So Yeah. Anyway, little side note there.
Interesting. Marty, Susan?
On the hypnosis thing in regard to astral projection, I have several friends who are hypnotists, and I was friends with Dick Sutphin, who was a hypnotist and did a lot of, put together a lot of CDs for astral projection, for different, different things to alter your consciousness. Hypnosis has never worked for me, to do astral projection. It's the strangest thing. Because I have tried it and I love hypnosis. I mean, I love just listening to the scripts and stuff because it's relaxing. But I've never been able to get out of body that way. In fact, if I try certain techniques, and I try them all, I do try, but because I started going out of body when I was a child, I realized later it was probably better if I just, I already get out, so why fix it? If it's not broken, don't fix it, but hypnosis particularly, I don't know why, because but I never had any luck getting out of body with hypnosis. I think that the script, listening to the script and going over it in your mind is a good dress rehearsal, and I think that that's very helpful, because they can walk you through it, and even walk you through being out of your body and everything. It's a good dress rehearsal. So I think it has its place and it's important, but I've never been able to get out using hypnosis. So.
Thanks, Susan. Because the left hemisphere acts like a gatekeeper before information gets sent to the right side, hypnosis allows the left side to get bored and let hypnotic suggestions passed unchallenged to the right hemisphere and acted upon directly. So I guess what we're trying to do is get it bored, get the left side bored so everything can go directly to the right. And that's why, is that why people act funny when they do those little skits?
When they're hypnotized?
Yeah.
Maybe so. I like that idea though, that you can bypass the left brain by just boring it to, into just a stupor, and then, communicating with your right brain that way. I like that. That, to me, that's resonates, and it seems like that would work. That would be a good tool.
So we've talked about what women are more usually right-brained, am I right? And men are more left.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about, if that's true, is like, so women basically have the left side, they kind of let things more go through to the right side, and men kind of just put up a thing and try to question everything that goes through.
The right brain thing is associated with the arts and with creativity and intuition and all of these psychic things. The left brain is our organizational brain. It's our that's our kind of our foundation for functioning in this world, that because it requires this world requires us to be sort of semi-organized and things. But right brain, left brain, they working together, you have a whole unit. But in general, I think men do tend to be come from a more left brain place, I think, and women tend to come from a more right brain place. That's just the nature of the beast, I think, is how we are.
Right.
That's not hard and fast, though, because I've known a lot of really right-brained men that are really in touch with that.
Stimulation of the corresponding area of the cortex causes intermediate response and the associated portion of the body. So have you guys ever seen experiments like that? They show that on TV where they're poking different parts of the brain and they can have sensations or feelings or remembering things and certain things like that. So I guess this lieutenant colonel is just getting into, in the beginning here, he's trying to understand all this stuff to report to his commander. That's how I see it.
Laying the foundation, yep.
So the first of the two consciousness altering methodologies to help turn off or bypass the left brain, we get into the hypnosis and transcendental meditation. First one he gets into is hypnosis, which may be used to accelerate the process in the early stages of the gateway experience. That's what he reported on that. And a whole, other things too along with it, but that's one of the things that I brought out. Transcendental Meditation, which is a second consciousness altering method described by single-minded concentration on the process of drawing energy up into the spinal cord. Then he mentions a book by Lee Sanella. Has anybody ever heard of? Okay. And he gets into the Kundalini, psychosis, or transcendence. Would anybody like to talk about that? Kundalini, and how he talks about the energy going up the spinal cord, Susan?
Well, Kundalini supposedly can go either way. It can go the traditional, and that's pretty weird all by itself. But then if you have it's been called morbid Kundalini, but I think that's a little severe. It just kind of goes up a different channel, and it causes more psychosis and some really weird stuff. Kundalini is it is a strange thing, and there's some people are born actually with it already active a bit in their body, but once you've had the back sweep, then you're active when you've had the back sweep, and it just rushes up your spine. You're active, but the way I understand it is that you're never. I always used to think when I was first heard of Kundalini, I used to think that it was synonymous with, that's how you achieve enlightenment. Activated Kundalini, you're moving into enlightenment. But it's a process that's ongoing all the way through your life. You're never finished with it. That was surprising to me. But it's an ongoing process. You never finish Kundalini. It's never a done deal. But in Kundalini, a lot of that kind of experience, astral projection, psychic experiences and stuff, it's off the charts. It's just off the charts when it starts happening within that framework of Kundalini.
Anybody else would like to talk about the Transcendental Meditation or Kundalini, rising up?
Yeah, I could mention one thing, not that I was ever really successful with it, but I did buy, and I don't think I ever told you about it, Juice, but because I think you had already moved, but I bought the Spooky 2, which is the Rife generator. And it has settings for Kundalini, different settings that you can use to help meditate. But it also has a lot of health things. So a lot of it, like they have to fight coronavirus, like any kind of health issue you have, but they also have a few frequencies that you can set. So I think, I don't do it really regularly, but sometimes if I put on some of those before I go to sleep, sometimes you can have more vivid dreams using different frequencies.
Glenn, were you going to say something?
No. No, well, I've been doing Transcendental Meditation. I learned that down at the ARE down at Virginia Beach back in the early 70s. But my experience with that is not necessarily that's described here. So it, to me, it was just it was issued a mantra, and they're based off of certain personality traits and age. And, I've just been doing that twice a day for, since the 70s.
Meditation, there are different things that can activate Kundalini in your body. Once that has begun, it kind of changes everything. It changes how you, all of your psychic gifts, everything tend to actually expand. It's an expansive process. But I noticed that I gave huge amounts of time to astral projection in my life. I've probably spent a third of my life practicing astral projection. I just have. And so I'm not a formal meditator. I have some back pain. And so my method has always been to lie flat of my back, and which is, you know, I would meditate before going into astral projection. That actually, I think that all of that meditation into astral projection and then all of the time out of body was what triggered the back sweep that I experienced back in the 80s. Because I had the full back sweep, had the whole full everything, even though it was, I came into this world with it already turned on. I had the full back sweep, and I know that so your astral projection practice can influence Kundalini in your body. Kundalini in your body can influence your astral projection, your psychic senses, everything, but it actually enhances it. Eventually, it enhances it. There's a period that you go through where it's, and a lot of people complain about it, that after they're active, that their astral projection experiences fall off, and their psychic experiences. But there is a period of time where you go through phases where things get quiet, and it's a plateau. It feels like it's called a plateau. And it feels like nothing's happening, just nothing's happening. It's very frustrating. But eventually, as this goes on in your body, it all blossoms again, and it becomes, you know, more expansive. Your experience with astral projection, more expansive. Your experience in meditation, much more expansive. Everything, it just expands everything. And I, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, in people, there's so many people talking about it. The West is very uninformed about Kundalini. We're misinformed and underinformed, and there are no, I work with a Kundalini master, and he told me that there are no, because it has so many physical symptoms to it also. You have so many physical symptoms that seem like illness, seems like something's really gone haywire in your body. But he said in this country, he was unable to find any doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists who are Kundalini trained. And he said, we desperately need that in this country. We desperately need it, because people will go in and they're just diagnosed with some kind of sort of psychosis. But it's Kundalini. And as we're evolving here with all of this energetic upheaval and all of this that's going on, we are evolving. And in this evolution, a lot of people are becoming Kundalini active, and they have no one. They have, you go talk to a doctor, it's not a good thing. You know, that was one of the first things I was told. Don't tell your doctor that you're Kundalini active. Don't tell your doctor that you're experimenting with Kundalini or anything. They don't understand it, and they will call it psychosis. And that's a shame. That's a shame.
Right. Robert Bruce did a course on the Kundalini, I believe.
Did he?
I haven't do it. Yeah, I didn't do it. Steph and Jason, if they were on, they would know. But I believe he's done a course on it. Oh. To raise your Kundalini. Yeah. And it all comes together, you know, without a body, like you're saying, yeah, Susan. Yeah. But but reading these documents, if I was just new getting into this out of body stuff, to me, I would be pretty confused, you know, with all this. It's pretty dense, this stuff, and I don't know how you guys feel, but yeah, I've seen some TikTok videos and stuff out there, people talking about this and stuff, and they're hyping it up, but I don't think a lot of people realize how much work sometimes has to be put into this for most people, unless you're a lucky few. You know, it seems like it takes a lot more work, and it's like, oh yeah, you can do this, you can leave your body and do that, but I don't know if you're so grounded here. It seems to me a lot of people don't realize that it's the newer generation, that it's a lot harder. They just think of like movies and stuff with superheroes and all this, and what's his name there, that Doctor Strange that leaves his body and all this stuff. And he can get out real quick, just like somebody punches you and you're out of your body. He gets into Bentov. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Work. He talks a lot about Bentov. His biomedical model says that most Kundalini experiences can take intense concentration and practice for 5 years. Bentov states that the exposure to the mechanical or acoustical vibrations in the range of 4 to 7 hertz, which are cycles per second, for protracted periods may achieve the same effect, which Monroe's doing. The hemisync of sound can get you in that state without practicing hardcore for 5 years to get in these states.
That link that you sent us to get the papers, there were a couple other things on there too that were on like Google Drive, I think. I'm not sure if it's just my computer that got that, but there was a recording of from the Monroe Institute Gateway program to get you to focus 10. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Was it on my link?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. Maybe I have something up in there that I forgot about.
But it was the thing with resonant breathing where you breathe in and then as you're breathing out, you hum.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
there?
resonant tuning.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's what that was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. He uses that in most of his gateway programs to tune yourself to get in that resonant tuning, to that vibrational state.
I've just wondered if anybody, if you guys usually do that, because that you do.
Yeah, I do it, and it sounds funny. You know, if somebody else is in the room listening to you, they're probably wondering what the heck's going on with you. Because
yeah,
it's like,
sort of like a cousin to the ohm, you know.
Yeah, it's like an up and down ohm. It's like, you know, it's.
If they didn't already think you were crazy, they're sure.
Yeah, yeah. Glenn, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. I actually use, or I hum at different frequency levels or at a higher frequency, and I have seen different results from that but yeah, it's part of my everyday experience with the tapes.
I don't know what this is, but sometimes when I'm doing that, Marty, when I'm laying down and I'm humming it, something vibrates at a certain time when I do it, and it actually makes me feel dizzy real quick. I don't know what is vibrating, my eardrum or what, but I feel like a quick feeling of vertigo or dizziness, and it goes away. So it's weird when I hit that. I don't know what that is.
And then I had that one experience, God, 30 years ago or something, where I had been doing that thing I do where I try to like draw in energy and power and compassion and love and everything, that whatever's floating around in the universe, I try and suck it in and charge up my batteries. And then when I feel like I got a good charge, I don't know, I came up with this on my own one time and I just like to do it. It's a way of dealing with all the unpleasant people but also all the weak. And then I try to send it out to people. And sometimes I do it in the form of like lighting flaming arrows and shoot it out to people. And other times I try to do it like a fog going along the ground, you know, that it'll go out and go into them. But anyway, the one time after I did that, then I was starting to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden this thing I can only describe it like the power of a fire hose. But I know it was going down. It wasn't going up. And I think it started from my head and went all the way down my spine and out the bottom. And it went on for a while. And it was just like, just knocked your socks off. I mean, it was so powerful. And I never had it was a one-time thing. People said, oh, that's Kundalini, but everything that you're explaining is like, goes up.
Yeah.
But this was going down and it was it was huge, like diameter wise.
It can go down too.
Oh, it can go down too.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, you can pull in downloads after Kundalini is active. You can pull in downloads through your head that come down and pass through your body out your feet, or however it works. I've had that happen on multiple occasions. It's really strong. It's very powerful. It can go up, it can go down. It can go side to side. It can go zigzag this way, up and down. It's the strangest thing how that energy moves, but it'll move in very specific ways. Someone told me that they thought that the energy came down. Did it feel cold when the energy came down into you? Did it feel cold or warm?
No, it did not. It did not feel cold.
Sometimes you'll feel cool or warm, and somebody said if it's coolness, that's angelic energy, or that's from such as if it's warm, it's this and that. But basically, it just has, sometimes it feels warm, sometimes it feels cool. They're different things, but it's all energy. And yeah, it can come down, it can go up. But the classic Kundalini goes up. But once you're in active Kundalini, you get energy coming in from all over the place.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yeah.
But I use imagery when I do this, you know, because they have you isolate yourself. So I use the sarcophagus for that. You know, it's almost like the Stargate one. And then I've always experienced orbs a lot, and I especially see this when I'm flying. It's kind of like you look out the window and it's like at 10,000 feet or so, there is a plethora of these orbs out there. And I use the fountain as a method to go ahead and raise that up and have that go out through the top of my head, if you will. And then for the resonant energy balloon that they talk about, or the reball, it's a torus, right? The energy matrix that you have, and all of your energy flowing in and out of your body and that type stuff. And I use a kind of an engineer background type thing. So I use a schematic to go ahead and hold that into my, in my brain and that type stuff as well. I find that very powerful as well. Sometimes I think I'm trying to create more of that, the movies of the mind technique as well. So I find that kind of interesting and beneficial.
Thanks, Glenn. The next area he gets into is biofeedback, which is the third consciousness altering methodology, which employs self-cognitive powers of the left hemisphere to gain access to areas of the right brain. So, we're trying to, all three of these things he describes here, we're trying to cut off our left brain to get to the right brain. He gives an example here of biofeedback. If the subject wishes to increase the circulation in the left leg in order to speed up healing, he may concentrate with his left brain on achieving that result, while carefully monitoring a digital thermometer connected to his left leg. When the concentrated effort begins to achieve success, the digital thermometer will register an increase in temperature of the left leg. I got the idea from that, like you hear about the monks who sit outside in the cold with a wet blanket wrapped around them, and the steam starts coming off. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, the Wim Hof breathing techniques are definitely powerful on that. I've been doing that for a couple of months now. I've been doing the cold showers and all of that type stuff. And it's very powerful. It really is.
I've never tried these techniques. You like them?
Yeah, actually I do. And it's interesting because I have one of those pulse oxygen monitors you stick on your fingers like they have in the hospitals and stuff. And I monitor there's like a 8-second delay after I get up to about, it only register up to a 99% oxygen content. I maintain that for the entire 3 cycles. And then when you breathe out and hold your breath, I can hold my breath for like 4 minutes based off of that. And then I watch the oxygen content go way down. I can get my pulse rate down to about a 51 with that right at the end of the 4 minutes. And I notice it goes from like 99 and my monitor shuts off at 60 when it gets down to that particular level. And but yeah, it's supposed to convert your body to what, alkaline versus acid. And I really think that's very powerful.
Yeah, I've read a lot of his stuff, and I've watched some of his videos. I've never tried any of the techniques, so I've never talked to anyone who has. So I was curious.
Yeah, it's just the 30 breaths in, and then you let it out, and then you hold it. And after each series of 30 breaths, you do 3 or 4. It's up to you. But first one is like a minute in terms of oxygen deprivation, and then it's kind of like a after that, it gets up to like 2, 2.5, 3 minutes, and then the third time I can get up to, the longest I've had is 4 minutes. But yeah, to me, it's a lot like swimming. I swam competitively for years and years, and it's oxygen deprivation, right? So you can go long length swimming, and that's like what he does underneath the ice, and you know, his world records and stuff. So.
You ever watch the things on the Iceman there?
That's him.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. All the things he can do. Ran a marathon in the freezing without any shoes on or anything.
Oh yeah. Very impressive. And his story, if you ever, his wife committed suicide, and that was his attempt to go ahead and deal with the grief and, you know, finding a natural resolution for that. It's amazing what the body can do.
Right.
But like you were saying, the monks can do that same thing. You know, see who he achieved it through breathing, and you know, the monks do that as well. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually have just a few quick questions.
Yeah.
I won't take up too much time because I know you want to get through the rest of the material.
No,
but
that's okay.
What do you guys recommend as a complement, like a compilation of techniques? Because I've heard you guys discuss like the Wim Hof breathing, like the resonant tuning. I believe you described that you lay down and then you go through all of these, this influx of like humming, right, through different, like just different harmonies or just different pitch. I'm just curious, or maybe after all of this, somebody can like send me some information to aid me with that. But I'm just wondering if you guys pattern these techniques to induce astral projection or any other metaphysical abilities that you may be capable of.
So you're looking for like a good technique to start off with to work your way out of body?
Precisely. Because I mean, I myself haven't had very much experience even with lucid dreaming, but when I have, they've been significant in terms of what I'm capable of achieving. Like, describe briefly, I had a dream where I was in a blank white open space, and there's essentially these stone-like blocks, and I was moving them almost like telekinetically. Another dream was where I was being told by a past partner, practicing how to fly within my dream, which was interesting, and having some very real, like, visually enhanced moments with that, but nothing into the point of astral projection, being like secluded in that point of energy or vibration or whatever else you may deem it as.
I'll throw one out there for you. Everybody has their own specialties that work for them, but to jump right into it and to start experiencing weird states of consciousness is to mess around with your sleep schedule, which for me can, if you have a job and stuff like that, can cause a problem a little bit. It did for me.
Yeah.
But you want to interrupt your sleep as much as possible, if you can. And one of the easiest way, which is talked about, is a wake back to bed. So basically, if you sleep 8 hours, get up a couple hours earlier, say 6 hours of sleep, stay up for a half hour, 45 minutes. Don't do anything too strenuous. Don't anything too dramatic or listen to news and stuff like that. Maybe read an out-of-body book. Go back to bed after 45 minutes, and your body goes into like super REM mode to try to make up for the time because it thinks that it's got to put you in that state very quick. So you'll experience different altered states of consciousness, either lucid dreaming, or you might even see yourself coming out of your body at certain points, you know, like that, just because you're talking about it and thinking about it. So you might will yourself to do it. So that's the quick way. Wait back to bed. And then what you can do if you have more time and you don't have to get up for a job, you can do it a few times. You could put an alarm that comes on every maybe get 3 hours of quality sleep, and then every hour or hour and a half you put an alarm on to wake you up, and then go back to this sleep with the intention of trying to keep your consciousness awake and let your body fall asleep. And that's when the weird stuff starts happening. Easiest way. And then when you start getting these experiences, then you put the pieces together. Oh, this is what this person's talking about with this experience. This is what this one's talking about. And then you can move on from there. That's one way. Susan?
What you said about reading a little bit, read about it. I've always, every class that I've taught, that's one of the most important things that I feel like, I think it's so important to, if you're interested in this, you haven't ever done it, even if you have done it, even if you've been doing it your whole life, if you'll read at least a paragraph of an astral projection book every night before you go to bed. You're sort of, I made my husband do that. He started doing that, and he got out of body. He just, you know, it's just
right, because it acts as like mental energy conversion.
Yeah, it gets you geared up for it. So that's important. If you'll read every night, even if you just read a paragraph, feel like reading more, read more, but read about it every night, and then you fall asleep with that in your mind. Another suggestion that I have is when I was a child, I think that this helped me getting out more than anything. You know, if I was sent to my room or whatever, punished for anything, you know, I didn't want to stay in my room.
Exactly.
So I figured out how to get out of there, but it took me a while. You know, I would practice. I would pretend that I just sat up and I got on the floor and I walked out and I'm in there and I'm around my mom and say, you can't see me, but I'm here, you know, just silly stuff. But it did, it did. And eventually, you know, I was able to just float right out there and go wherever I wanted to. But that helped me. To pretend that I was doing that helped me, because it's a dress rehearsal, you know, it's a practice. You practice, and sometimes if you just practice the actual procession of being in your body, pretend that you're vibrating, pretend that the vibrations become, you know, you can calm them down, and that you just pop out, you just poof, you're gone just like that, and you're out of your body on the other side of the room looking back at your body. You just pretend that over and over and over again. Your body, you understand on another level, you understand what you're trying to do, and it's programming yourself. You're just programming yourself to do it.
That makes sense, because that's actually like you unlocking the creative, the right side of your brain, which is what people are like attempting to tap into. It's letting go of the analytical position of your mind. Exactly. By playing pretend. That makes sense, because that's why like children are expected to have so many more like metaphysical experiences by the time they're, you know, proceeding into like adolescence, is because they are innately like in tune to the ability to imagine and to fantasize. So that makes sense.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay.
And another thing, I don't know what your mornings are like, you know, if you work, if you are in school, if you have free mornings, but anytime that you have a free morning, you get a good night's sleep. This is when the best part of my whole astral projection life began, when my children were in school. I would take them to school, I would come home, and I've never been a great sleeper anyway, so I'm always sleep deprived. But I would go lie down in bed, and I would think, okay, I'm going to go try to get out of body. If I don't get out of body, I'll fall asleep and I'll get some rest that I need. So, but when your body is saturated with sleep, that you've actually had enough sleep and you're just lying there, you're not, your body, you don't have to, you're not running the risk of your body falling back asleep, your body itself falling asleep. Your body just kind of just, you know, it's okay, it's been taken care of. So it seems to get that out of the way. And I would go back to bed after I was completely saturated with sleep. I had plenty of sleep, go back into that bed, lock my doors, turn off my phone, cover myself up, take all jewelry off, everything, get in there and just lie there. And I've said it before, there were times I would lay there for 3 hours until I popped out of body. I was going to stay there until I got out.
Yeah.
I always did. I always did. But I had that time. I had that time when my children were in school, when they were young, they were in school. And I had this daytime, which seemed to be perfect, a perfect time, that and a waterbed. This is back of the waterbed. A waterbed is so conducive to altered consciousness. You know, they're not practical. They are not practical. When they leak, they're horrible. When the bathrooms mess up, they're horrible. But it's like a warm cocoon. It's just, it's almost like being in amniotic fluid when you're floating in that. It helped me. That was a combination of things. And I just, I would be 3-4 days a week out of body, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, out of body, just, and that went on. I mean, well, it goes on till now, you know, it goes on till now, but it really, really got interesting in my 30s. That's when it really got just fascinating to me. And I just knew this, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, because there's just too much that you can accomplish with this. I mean, it's really useful. It's not just a novelty. It is very useful too. You know, and it helps you in your life. If you know, you get good at it, you can really help yourself with it.
No, I thank you so much to everyone that was giving me information. But no, I plan on applying some of that tonight. Even I'm going to do a little research after this group setting. So thank you all.
Yeah. And you're doing the research right now, Colton. Yeah. Glenn?
Yeah, Colton, I agree with a lot of what you're saying and what everybody's been saying, especially as a younger kid. You know, the brain only operates at certain frequency levels, which is conducive to like the imagination and all of that. And as you go into adolescence, you know, it goes into you kind of lose that ability to imagine. You know, I hate that when I lost that. I used to have a vivid imagination. But I posted, take a look in the chat. I posted the free book from Monroe Institute, their ebook, Gateway to a Human Mind. It's a 51-page document, and it goes all the way from Focus 1 to Focus 49 in terms of what we're actually discussing. And I don't know how in the heck I stumbled across this. It's been since the last time we talked, but yeah, that's pretty informative. I think you can use that. I do like the Monroe Institute tapes to accomplish what you're trying to achieve there, and a lot of insights there. A lot of insight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Glenn, for posting that. Check that out. Yeah, just think, Colton, mind awake, body asleep. Try to keep that in your mind, what you're trying to do. And then just enjoy the experiences as they happen and keep learning. It's part of the fun, part of the adventure. Live this life and enjoy the other lives too, other dimensions, other out-of-body adventures you can go on.
I hope so.
Keep a journal, like you were saying. Start documenting everything that you do.
That's very important.
Journey.
Yeah, that's actually what I have been doing. I noticed as I conduct like narratives throughout my dreams, they become much more vivid. That's actually one thing I didn't bring up was I got to a point where I was actually resuming dreams night after night, where I was the same identity within a specific place and time, but I was reoriented within the world in different places, like a city, as an example, like future dystopian, as an example. And I knew like I had a career of some sort, and I had an identity that was different from the one that I'm originating from now, and that I was like I was on some kind of mission, as most of the time we are in our dreams for any varying reason. But I knew this intuitively. But the thing is, I went back into this dream the day after, so it was a continuation of an already existing dream, and that's never happened to me in my life before. So that was interesting. So hopefully I'll see more I don't know, more connections like that.
A lot of fun, isn't it?
Oh my god, yeah, no, it's
Definitely. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good point. Keep it fun.
The journals, though, the experience journal, I've always called them an experience journal. I used to have, when I'd have workshops, I would just buy a bunch of little journaling books and glue a little round mirror on the front of it. And I would say, this is your experience journal. This, when you look at that mirror, that is your teacher who you're looking at. This is your teacher. This is
I
your
like that.
experience
That's
journal.
really,
Keep it by your bed, and every weird thing that happens, whether it's a dream, out of body experience, you see something, write it, date it, write it, and keep a journal. Because when you do that, that's another thing. That's also, it's you're just programming your subconscious. You're telling your subconscious, I'm serious about this. You know, I'm gonna pursue this. I'm gonna keep up with it. And for some reason, just having that journal and keeping it going for me has it's almost been fuel. It's almost been like a fuel for me. I've got 30, I got many years of boxes and boxes of notebooks that are full of this stuff. And I'm glad. I'm so glad that I have them.
Yep.
Then
Yeah, those books.
That's your personal archaeology. Then you can go back and you can see your progress.
that's true, and you can reinvestigate like mental and like just ideas and prospects of ideas as you've made that consideration throughout your life. That's really smart.
Yeah, you might have books, you know, you'll start and you'll stop, and you'll have a book that you started and you might stop for a little bit because life gets in the way, and then you have another book, and before you know, you have books all over the place where there's no problems writing in a journal like, oh, there's my dream journal over there, there's one from 90, 2000 over there. And
I know. I hope it gets to that kind of insanity. I'm hoping. I mean,
and then
we'll see.
right, and you can also do voice. You can use your cell phone and just record your voice. I have a lot of stuff on my voice recorder because I'm just so lazy and I don't feel like writing everything down, so I just record it with my voice.
I might have to try that. Not to say that I'm very comfortable with my voice, but that is definitely much more. Definitely quicker.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Robert Monroe talks about getting into that too, eventually when they become more popular, because he started this back in the 60s and 70s, and not many people had tape players back then, but as time went on, he kind of tells you to start using that as well as another technique to record information that you're doing.
Okay.
If I can mention one thing also, if you, this is kind of an interesting, sorry, it's an aside, but when my wife and I went out on our honeymoon around the peninsula of Washington State, I was drawn to this old bookstore, and my wife felt really weird. She wouldn't even go into the bookstore, but when I went in, there was only the owner and myself. I was drawn to the back corner, and this book popped on the floor and was called The Secret Science Behind Miracles. And the author was Max Freedom Long. And he started talking about Huna, which is the ancient Hawaiian positive thinking ability, if you will. And I'd put a PDF by William Glover on that. And what's really interesting is it talks about, they recognize the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. and the different levels. There's actually 10 different vehicles that we inhabit according to that. And you've always heard of the Howley. You ever heard of that term, where the religious experts in Hawaii would say that the white men didn't know how to breathe life into their prayers. And it's really interesting. I think it's a really easy read. And it's in the, I attached it to the chat.
Oh, okay, cool. Then I'll look for it there.
Yeah, I think everybody might find that interesting.
Cool.
And I've been studying of the Huna. I joined their association for years and years and years.
I have too. Yeah.
And it blends.
I got into that years ago. There was a book by Serge Kahili King called The Urban Shaman. And it was all about Huna. It went into that and his work with Huna. And I really loved it. Really loved it. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Huna prayer technique is very powerful.
Cool, thanks. And it looks like Marty put something down there for everybody too. She put a PDF on astrodynamics. Thanks, Marty. Have you guys heard of in Hawaii Dr. Paul Pearsall from Hawaii? Pleasure Principle? No. I used to listen to him growing up in my teens and 20s. All right, so back to the documents here, guys, and biofeedback. Biofeedback may be used greatly to accelerate achievement of deep meditative states, particularly for beginners with no meditative technique experience. So that was mentioned in the documents. He starts getting back into the gateway and the hemisync. They say that the gateway and the hemisync is a training system designed to bring enhanced strength, focus, coherence to the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output between the left and right hemispheres, so as to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. Pretty cool. The participant then gains access to various levels of intuitive knowledge which the universe offers. So look at that. See that, Colton? You get to you get access to all the stuff in the universe. That's one of the benefits. You can't beat that, man. You can't beat that.
That's a pretty thick deal.
You probably consider that as like the Akashic records. If you know what that's the storage of information in the universe that we can tap into to get information on anything that's ever happened. It's rare that both human sides of the brain are synced for more than a short period of time, he finds out in the documents. Focus 3 hemisync audio can help sustain this synchronization for long periods of time. It's kind of weird that they brought up Focus 3, and for anybody who doesn't know about the focus levels, it's a gateway series the Monroe Institute came up with, that just focusing your attention in different areas. The higher up the level, the more out of sync you are with your body here on Earth.
Yeah, and those are described in that link I sent everybody. You know what I find interesting on this, though, is when you think back to the 80s, the only modalities that were available were the biofeedback and transcendental meditation. So that's why I think where he had to draw from in order to explain it and explain consciousness to the powers to be.
Right. Yeah, his commander trying to process all this.
Yeah, and yet I think, in terms of storytelling and establishing the credibility on that, the transcendental meditation is more of the foo-foo type stuff, but the biofeedback definitely had the scientific link. It's got a machine you can measure with and everything else, right?
Right.
When were the MRIs and the EEGs and all of that coming into existence? That was back in the 70s too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
That's where
what she was using, right, in the Monroe Institute at the time.
Right. So I just thought that was interesting.
Here's an interesting thing I pulled out of the documents here. A study that was done, and they mentioned the person who did the study, that a subject with 20 years of training in Zen meditation can consistently establish hemisync at will. So just to show you with the hemisync how powerful it is, to how quickly you can get into these states, a Zen meditator, 20 years of training, can actually, I guess finally do something like that pretty easy. And then they get into a lamp versus a laser and how the hemisync, they use an analogy here, how the hemisync kind of compares to that. As your mind is like a lamp, which it expends energy in the form of both heat and light, but in a chaotic way. Hemisync is like the laser beam, which produces a disciplined stream of light.
Can I say something about the hemisync? I have these CDs for like $100. I think it was a little more than $100. See if I get that out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I have just not had any results whatsoever listening to these. And I listened to just the first one for a while because I figured I'm probably not advanced enough to do the other ones. But then I wasn't getting anything, so I tried some of the other ones, but they go for like an hour. So you're trying to like hold a meditation state for like an hour. And I found it really difficult to do using the thing, and like boring and irritating, and like just was like, plain old meditation was a lot more enjoyable than listening to this. Which you're not listening to, for those of you who've never had one, it's not music or anything. He's sort of got a background of like ocean waves. And then I take it there's some hemisync tones. And I was using, the around the ear headphones to try to be the most effective. I just thought I'd mention that because, there's all this wonderful stuff they keep saying, you put this on and off you go. And it's like, my experience, but I guess maybe I should do it more. I don't know.
Well,
I think that's really, if I may talk, to me, I had something similar way back when, and to me, it's always because my left brain, I'm thinking about it logically instead of just shutting off the left brain and letting the right brain take over. If you can figure out some way to do that, I think you will get the benefits from that hemisync. Got to shut down that mind. What they call it, the monkey mind.
Right.
Yeah, that might be my problem.
Yep. These documents talk about that a lot, about the monkey mind. And they show some diagrams on there, but I have no idea what the heck they're talking about on there. Half of it you can't even read. But in the documents, you'll see them talking about different parts of the mind there. But you're not alone, Marty. My research and stuff, there's a lot of people who it either bothers them or they just don't get anything from it, a big majority. And Robert Monroe used to say, when people used to come to experience this at the Monroe Institute, that there's a very small percentage of people that are experiencing out-of-body experience while they're there. Very, very few. So it even tells them, I remember seeing a video once, you can just go home now if you think you're going to come here to have an out-of-body experience.
I'd like to ask which part. So there's two intentions, right? You could try to have a full-blown Monroe Book 1 type out-of-body experience from these audios, or you could use them as practice and get a very nice trance state out of it and just kind of use it to refine that Zen trance state. So Marty, are you unable to do either? Is that the frustration?
Exactly. Unable to do either. And I got these from the Monroe Institute. I just bought them not too long ago. It says hemisync support for journeys out of the body.
Right, I've tried that one.
And you got a nice trance state out of it?
Yeah. So once a month, we have an in-person meetup group that hasn't been going for a little while, but it had been going for at least like 5 years. So in Austin, we would come together and hang out on gravity chairs and listen to the same Monroe track together for like, well, they're usually about 30 minutes. So we'll do 2 tracks back to back. So we have a good chance to really get under. And I don't believe anyone ever had an authentic OBE where you're completely out and it's tangible. I mean, people have had energy stuff happen, they've seen things, but they haven't had that, you know, that specific experience that we're all looking for. But that said, there's a big difference between the people who would come and would just fall asleep. Some would come and yeah, they couldn't stop their thoughts and they didn't get anything out of it. And then the rest were able to get something out of it. They were able to maybe tap out a little, like maybe they'll take a little nap in the middle of it, but they'll definitely have gone on some kind of like meditation journey. They'll have an insight, maybe they'll see some stuff. So the difference is usually either trying too hard or not trying enough. You have to find that balance. So if you
Well,
lay back and
what should you be trying to do with your thoughts while you're listening to it? Should you be trying to, like the way I always meditated, because I got it out of a book, was I counted my breaths, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each count would be an inhale and an exhale, and then you go back and start at 1 again. So you just keep counting your breaths to 4 and try to think of nothing else. And if other thoughts crept in, then you try to gently bring yourself back without beating yourself up too much.
so it depends.
And I used to get a really nice trance from doing that, but you know, doing this, I wasn't sure what am I supposed to be doing with my mind while I'm listening to it.
Right, they are a little vague on guidance on a lot of those audio tracks. The very first originals, Monroe was very specific. He tells you exactly what to picture and when, waits for you to do it, and then gets on to the next thing. And then when he wants you to do nothing, he tells you, okay, now do not, you know, don't think of anything and just be, you know, or something like that. So the later tracks, they leave it a little more open-ended. I'm not clear why, but I know that some of them, especially the ones that are more abstract or have a specific theme, like the shaman's heart, that kind of thing, there's no words, there's no guidance in the whole thing, but there's kind of an energy cue going on. Like if you know about remote viewing, you can cue a number, a meaningless number, to suddenly mean the photo you want people to notice and see psychically. So I haven't been told this, but my gut knows that every one of those Monroe tracks are cued to something or somewhere, and some of them are of a stronger cue than others. And so if you let yourself be kind of neutral, but set the intention to join up with the intention embedded in the audio track, then that might pull you somewhere. If you override it, of course you can override it. If you do nothing, maybe nothing will happen. But if you simply set the really loose, simple intention to go where they want you to, then you might. So that's what works for me. Yes, doing absolutely nothing is frustrating because nothing will happen. If you try too hard, then you're getting all intellectual about it and you're interrupting anything that's going to come in anyway. If you're complaining about how long it's taking or what you could be doing instead, then you're going to get nowhere, of course. And then there's 2 disciplines. And so Tom Campbell points out mindfulness, the straight, well, maybe that's the wrong word, but the type of meditation where the goal is to think nothing whatsoever. Of course, the thought will come in, but dismiss it, just stay in thoughtless energy. Well, that's one form of meditation, but you're not supposed to do that for that long. Tom Campbell says once you've gotten a good, you know, like to where you can kind of get a handle on it, and not like you have 0 thoughts, but you have mostly no thoughts when you try, you're good. You don't need any more of that practice at all for the rest of your life. You can then move into the later audio tracks in the Gateway series where he talks about, okay, now visualize this energy rod beam. Okay, now put that through your body in the spots that need healing and things like that. Or go on, you focus on the Akashic records and you go on a time related journey. So you can once you're done with that basic training, you got it. You don't need it anymore. Maybe if you're feeling a bit bored, it's because you kind of know that on the inside. So whenever there isn't an intention, add one. Like, all right, I want to jump with the energy this is trying to pull me into, and that's your starter. And kind of once you get there, get kind of loosened up, then have your own personal intention. I want to meet my aunt, whatever, who passed away. I want to go on a visual. I want to see. I'm going to create a daydream. I know I'm making it up right now, but I want my energy structure, my guides, whatever, to take over my daydream and turn this into a guided journey where they show me how to heal or how to solve this problem in my life or something like that. So almost all those tracks are pretty open to where they're just trying to pull you into this nice thoughtless state or energy plane. There's a few where it does seem like a specific spot in the astral plane that they're trying to pull you into. And sometimes they'll tell you exactly what they're trying to do. And then you just visualize along. But that's been my experience.
Thanks, Steph. And hi, Steph.
Hello. I'm so sorry. I forgot all about this today. I mentally deleted it. I thought it was going to be Wednesday. That was the last. And then, so there was no Friday. Yeah. But I'm here.
Hey, Steph. Well, thanks, Steph, for that information. And it's 8:30, everybody. So we got up to about in the documents to when we get into frequency following response, FFR. So if you can get to that, I think that's on page 6 or 7. It gets into that, and then we'll add another 10 pages to it, or as much as you can get done. Would anybody like to add anything that's going on in the OBE scene that they want to announce?
Quick question for anyone who's listening to this audio later. Where can people go to find the documents you're talking about?
They are on the Austin Astral Projection meetup, Steph's meetup. They are on the Austin Astral Projection Facebook group. And they're on the Astral Projection Facebook group to get the documents. I don't have a link here right now, but does anybody out there not have the documents right now or want help to get them?
I would like them.
You would? Okay. Colton, how'd you find out about this tonight?
Oh my God. Well, I typically browse Facebook for just
Oh, cool. Yeah.
assortment of things, and it said unclassified government documents, and I was like, oh wow. I'm like, God, I'd like to be part of that. And so I joined and wanted to see what it was about, and it aligned with things that I'm doing now to progress my own spiritual and psychological healing.
Cool.
Because I've been getting out of a really abusive relationship, but I've been healing from it, and so I've been doing things to enhance my spirituality and help enhance my mental health. And so that just got intertwined with meditation and creating like affirmation journals, creating the dream journal. But it's kind of wound itself up into the metaphysical aspects that I'm trying to discover for myself. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Steph, on there.
And just to say to Colton, it's so nice that you are as young as you are and you're determined to do this, because if you work at it and you keep at it and you read this stuff and so on, you've got some wonderful stuff ahead of you. You'll be able to develop yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you first get out, there's a feeling of joy. There should be a word for it, like astral joy or something or other. It's just
an astral joy.
It's you guys know what I mean? It's just this incredible
Oh
joy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Unbridled freedom.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm guessing it's emotionally revolutionary.
Yeah.
It's profound. I mean, it's such a shame that it's not common knowledge. They don't teach it in school, you
Well,
know.
it's life changing. It is life changing. Yeah, it is life
It
changing.
is. Colton, I put 2 links below, one to the meetup group and one to the Facebook group. You can get the documents off those. You'll see the next meetups coming up, so you know when the next one is. And as soon as I see you go in there, either Stephanie or I will hit accept so you can join in. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing.
Bye, guys.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.